Hello and welcome to another Spoilercast done by the Cutie Art Crusaders for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 5, Episode 16, Made in Manhattan. My name is FlutterGuy317, and today I am joined by Rainbow Plasma.
Hello.
And Burndoe1.
Hello.
And we get yet another rarity episode, which is awesome.
The third one in a row.
Joel just texted us, so
Yeah.
sorry about the background
My
noise.
bad.
Yeah, three rarity episodes in a row. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was really unexpected. I don't remember, it's been a while since we had that mid-season hiatus, so I don't really remember what the episodes were. I need to go back and watch the first half of season 5 so I can remember, but there must not have been any rarity episodes in the first half, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just I'm curious if they look at the ratio of main 6 episodes and it's rarity's really lacking. We're gonna make up for that this season.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that on a season by season basis. I think that they just have the episodes and then they order them in just not random ways, but they obviously have.
Yeah.
They've got this pseudo story, pseudo season long story element going, right? So they've got.
Totally.
Like in this episode, it was Rarity and Applejack going and solving their friendship issue, right? So let's say they have a set amount of those episodes. They space those out every 3 or 4 episodes, right? They space them out evenly in the season, and then they just fill in stuff where they can. And I think it's just one of those instances where it's it just happens to be 3 times in a row. It's a Rarity episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they probably don't pick the filler to kind of go in a certain sequence, because this was not a filler episode.
Yeah.
This was definitely a plot related episode.
Yeah.
But the last episode was kind of a filler episode.
Yeah,
So-
and lots of times they actually switch around the filler episodes. They'll have planned for certain episodes. You can go back and I think there's one in season 3 and one in season 4 where they planned for a certain episode to come out, and then they went either it's not done or the other one they decide that one for whatever reason they switch them around, and so they flip an episode. So I don't think the filler ones are really, or this. I'm not gonna call them filler. That sounds bad. The
Yeah,
slice
no.
of life ones are.
Yeah.
They're just kind of placed in as they see fit in kind of a pseudo random order.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a huge amount of thought process, but yeah, I've got to admit I didn't get tired of Rarity in any of these episodes, because I feel like in each episode she filled a different role, and she almost felt like she acted a little bit differently in each one.
Mhm.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Actually-
going from main character to kind of duo character,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
especially
actually-
with the last episode being her noir, that was barely even a Rarity thing. It was kind of
Yeah.
its own thing, right?
Yeah. I actually really have grown to like her character because of how highfalutin and embellishing she is. She can fill a lot of those different roles. And I think that the writers are just kind of starting to use her kind of personality and character to its kind of fullest extent.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think they've made her a little bit less. I think they've made her a little bit more outwardly thoughtful. You can tell that even when she has these outbursts, it's oh, well, she's thinking about other people, or she's just goofing around, or whatever, right? Whereas I feel earlier on in the series, there's all these big flair moments, and she comes off as a drama queen, and there's no kind of redeeming thing. Whereas every single time she has some sort of dramatic flair, it's oh, she's doing it for someone else, or oh, she's
Yeah.
she's just being silly, or so. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's improved a lot as a character, I think, and she's a really, really enjoyable character now.
Speaking of her dramatic flair, she definitely had a few of those moments in this episode. There was one where she kind of fell she's done on her fainting couch before, but into Applejack's arms.
Yeah.
And,
She's
The
very
White
prepared to
Diamond
catch her.
shed a beautiful tear of happiness.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I have to say, I was expecting a little bit more, just because we've had so many conflicting Applejack and Rarity episodes. This one was a very calm, just 2 friends,
Mhm.
Just
episode, which
two
worked.
sisters doing it's
and they're in a city, and
they're in Manhattan.
Yeah.
and-
yeah, and something happens. That's a reference Ted doesn't get. All right. But yeah, like it was weird because we've had so many episodes of them having like conflicting or like they always like they're so different. Look at how different they are.
Totally.
And then this one, they work together really well, and it was just kind of like, yeah, they're just two people. They had a little bit of that with like the city person versus the country person.
Yeah, that was really cute too, where it's like Rarity's just used to being in New York, and then Applejack's like, oh, you know, her southern tendencies, like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Across the street. That was a really cute dynamic. The entire episode, the entire like, what is it, the New York dynamic, like from the puns to the scenic like reproductions to like the people and their sayings and like mannerisms, it was like 10 out of 10. That was the most I enjoyed like out of this episode.
Yeah.
You know what's weird? The last time that we watched a Manhattan episode, we hadn't been to New York yet.
That's
it's true.
But now we have.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Congrats, guys.
I really related to Rarity's character in this episode in terms of like the little city vibe things, because I grew up in a big city. I grew up in the biggest city in Canada, and so like I've got like cousins and other family members and friends who come from outside of cities, and when they get into cities, they act exactly like Applejack. They get scared and like, I don't know what to do. There's so many people, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Been there, done that. So I totally related with her in that aspect. And Applejack reminded me so much of like my cousins or my friends that have come to big cities and just freaked out.
Yeah. I mean, there is kind of like that dynamic. Like, I know we've talked about it before that when I go into New York City, for instance, I like put on a whole different mode of like walking and interacting with people. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a learned skill to be a city slicker.
Yeah,
for sure.
Your persona has to change just to kind of like, I don't know, function.
Or else you turn into an Applejack and you end up like almost getting run over by cars when you like cross the street. So
running into people and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it was interesting seeing Coco Pamel come back. I know some people were like, I can't believe Sassy Saddle's got 2 episodes and Coco Pamel hasn't got... Get immediately shut down, fools.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool to see her come back. She was a nice character, and I'm glad that she's got a little bit more screen time.
That was a nice character to revisit.
I was just scrubbing through the episode, and there is a newspaper article with the large pony on it.
Oh, really?
The one that keeps coming back. Yeah.
It's funny.
I just randomly happened to
Such an interesting background character. But like, I guess for background characters, what was the gal who did the plays initially? Do you remember her name at all?
Charity.
I remember because the friendship was witchcraft, and I was like, what do you mean? Wait, sorry, Charity.
But I really liked that her character and like her little backstory. I don't know, that was very charming. I enjoyed that. There's like in the play and stuff when they were kind of like acting her out.
Yeah.
It was interesting that the play ended up being about the event that they were currently holding. Because that was an interesting touch. I enjoyed that kind of aspect, and I enjoyed the fact that they brought back Coco Pamel and didn't make her just like, by the way, I'm in fashion. It's like, well, she's got she's got her own life, and she had her own, childhood, which she really enjoyed this thing, and it's kind of like they brought back a character, but it was for something completely different from what she was originally introduced for, and it gives that sense of like, it's a 3-dimensional character with a life that's actually going on. So that was a really awesome thing to do.
Especially because like we haven't heard about her since that episode. Well, I mean, we saw her like in the finale of last season,
right?
Just briefly, but like it was kind of like they kind of cut off her storyline almost in a way, and so it's kind of nice to have that back and kind of get a little bit more backstory.
Yeah, I think we're a bit spoiled in this fandom. In terms of like we have these characters, and they're first of all so well written that we want to see more of them, but second of all, like I don't think any of these characters are mandatory to come back. You know, like I think the Coco Pamel thing was wrapped up kind of nicely. Like I'm glad to see her come back, and they did it in a really great way, and so like there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't necessarily agree that like it felt like it was cut off. Like I think it was a nice, concise one-story character. And the fact that they bring it back is super cool, and that's what I mean by I think we're spoiled, just because like so many other shows have all of these one episode characters that never come back again.
It's true, but I'd also disagree in saying that we're spoiled, because there's also so many other shows, a lot of shows really, and really good shows that actually bring back said characters that had kind of like one story things, but they don't plan it out as like one story episodes. When they bring in this cool character, they plan the whole season to maybe bring back in this character at different times, like Gravity Falls has done it, Adventure Time does it all the time, except willy-nilly because they're crazy. And so like there's lots of good examples of where they'll have this cool character and then they'll keep bringing back the character in for different episodes or to fill different roles and storylines. And so like My Little Pony didn't do that a lot for the most part. Like you kind of had like the core group of characters and then like the princesses, and then they'll bring them back now and then, but you know, it's like Gilda, they just like threw her away. And so like this season we're kind of really getting to see those characters again, like Gilda and like Coco Pamel, and then like reintroduce them, which is really nice. And like I enjoy when cartoons do that, you know. And it's always been done really well in like other cartoons that I watch right now and really enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's a really good practice to do, especially again when you do it in such a way that's not like forced, right? Like it's not like bringing them back just because of the one thing that you had last time. There's kind of a similar thing that's happening again, right? Like there's like with Coco Pamel, there's legitimately like just a different thing, right? It was related because it was Manhattan, but you know, it's just a different thing entirely. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it is kind of nice to have that because it's kind of a connection back to Rarity. So it's not like you have to like meet someone completely new.
Yeah,
they
you don't
can
have
kind
to
of just throw her in there.
Re-go into this introduction of the character. You just throw in one sentence like, "Oh yeah, I remember back when."
Yeah. I was impressed that they managed to finagle the friendship lesson into this episode. I wasn't quite understanding because in all the other ones there's like these group of people that you're supposed like and like solve this specific problem that you see. This one was a little bit more vague, right? It was about a community coming together, and like when you think about it, really the only people who did anything was Coco Pamel, Applejack, and Rarity, right? And then by the end they wrapped it up and it was like, oh, you know, all you need is small gestures. And I was like, dang it, they managed to wrap it up in such a way that actually makes sense. How did they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of confused as to how they were going to bring like a friendship lesson into this, and then they totally did.
Yeah.
That's good.
It just seemed like they were so, like it was so focused on the characters of Applejack and Rarity and Coco Pamel, which is so different from the previous times where we've been sent out on quests, because it's been more about, I don't know, like directly tackling the problem. You know what I mean? Like this was a kind of like indirectly tackling the problem.
Yeah.
And like all the other ones have been kind of like directly doing it. So,
totally.
Yeah.
Again, I'm impressed. I find it very impressive that throughout the last, you know, couple of years in like seasons 4 and 5 that I'm still finding ways to be impressed by how they're fitting all these stories together. I think that's really, really amazing that they managed to do that again 4 or 5 seasons in.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up Twilight in the beginning because I thought that she was so adorable.
She was very cute.
I'm surprised they didn't re-reference her later on. I guess they did once.
I mean, they did keep bringing her up like that she could have used her magic to fix up the park, but then it was good that she didn't.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, now I kind of realize that was kind of her role, is to make it so it's like, oh, make Twilight and not fix everything. Okay, that makes sense. Because when I was watching, I was curious because it was like, oh, Twilight's playing this major role in the intro, and then like, is she gonna like go to Manhattan or something? And then it was no, she was just a part to drive the plot, and that was good.
I wouldn't put it past, like in each of these episodes I keep looking for stuff that's going to come up again, and I mentioned while I was watching it to Ted, this sisterhood social thing that they mentioned more than once, that's guaranteed there is an episode about that.
Yeah, that's like that's next episode. It's gotta be.
Yeah, like there's no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen. They were very obvious about that, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, like, it's got my mind working in such a way, I wouldn't be surprised if the Twilight being bored thing comes up again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it plays a part in, even if it's a little part in another episode. Like the way that they put it all together and put such a focus on it in the beginning just makes me go like, you know, I wonder. And again, like you said, they brought up Twilight again, but they didn't really bring up that whole her not being there, being bored. Like, I think there's something else there. There might be something else there.
What does a budding alicorn do to entertain herself, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Books!
Does she screw with the seasons? Does she mess with the weather? Who knows? Find out.
Yeah. Sounds like a sitcom or a reality show.
Did you guys have anything else you like really enjoyed about the episode, like little cute things or moments,
Yes.
parts?
The Charlie Brown thing was really,
Yes.
really cute.
That was adorable.
In case people don't know, at some point, Rarity set up a little like wooden stand with friendship advice, and she was calling out to people, and and when nobody came by, she said, "Oh, good grief," and that's very reminiscent of Charlie Brown.
And the music at that point was very like who was it? Vince Guaraldi, who did the Peanuts music. Yeah, it was very much in that style.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That's actually really funny. I didn't realize that. I was catching the stuff like right before that, like as soon as they were getting into New York, like it was like shots, and then she's like, "Oh, and like Manhattan, like what do you do to me?" And like
Yeah,
there's more
yeah.
puns and like those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
There was also something that I noticed that isn't really like a reference, but as people were watching the play, they started like more and more people started sitting down. Halfway through, they had a shot of like the crowd. Most of the people were just sitting in the street.
Yeah.
Like they were just sitting like in the middle of the street. It's like, what are you doing?
Normal New York things, you know. You run out of space for certain stuff, so you just take up a street.
Yeah.
block
Well,
the
the thing
street
is,
off.
the sidewalk was pretty empty too. It's just nobody wants to sit next to each other. Now that's realistic.
Yeah.
Nobody
instead
ever
they-
sits next to each other.
Instead, they sit in the street and
Yeah.
get run over by cars. Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
I
Yeah.
go to enough college classes. Nobody purposefully sits down next to someone else.
It's true.
There's always a seat in between.
Yeah. Something else that was really cute that kind of caught my eye was Applejack's hat and its
Oh
adventures.
yeah, that was
Or-
such a
or
great little
misadventures.
gimmick. Yeah.
Red
Yeah.
cat.
That poor hat, R.I.P. It all kind of got tied together though in the end when Rarity bought the hat from that
Yeah.
disgruntled salesperson.
Good story writing right there.
Yeah.
That's basically
Yeah.
everything that I had to say about this episode. I thought it was good. I had fun. I have no
Mhm.
complaints. Good episode.
Mhm.
Yeah, solid stuff. I mean,
Um,
like I pointed out earlier, just like the names and the puns were like a strong part of enjoyment for me. Like the play names too, like Trotter on the Roof. I was like, I was like
Yeah.
giggling.
yeah.
I will say,
Um,
you guys hadn't been here last week. Last week's episode was really good. So, like, I liked last week's episodes more because it was just so good.
I know.
But this was still really, really fun.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about it, but last week's episode was definitely like, I enjoyed it way more than the episode that I'd watched before that.
It was Tippity
Yeah.
Toppers.
I think that
Top
might
Spalooby.
that might be my new favorite episode. Although Party of One is still very, very good.
So sorry, Ted, I cut you off. You're going to talk about this episode.
I forget what I was gonna mention now. Oh no.
It's probably just, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. I was gonna say it's shipping, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fun.
that'll happen.
Yeah.
At some point, they held hooves.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like holding.
I think it
There
was more like
chest touching.
it was more like Rarity reached out and touched Applejack's chest, and then
Yeah.
Applejack like grabbed her hoof and like put it down. It was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't
You're
touch
giving
me.
the
Not
you're
in
giving the
public.
shippers too
Yeah,
much.
it's like not in public.
Later tonight.
So yeah, it was a good episode. I had fun. That's all I have to say. About it.
Yeah. Same, and I hope that next week's episode, if it is on the Sisterhood social, will be equally entertaining.
hype.
Oh,
Have we had a
Didn't we already
CMC
have like
episode this
4
season?
CMC episodes this season?
Have we?
I feel like we've had a lot.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
like, yeah, I guess there was the, what is it, the Trouble Hooves one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been like I'm gonna say there's been 3 already. So if there's one more, that's got to be it, right? Like
Oh,
that's
yeah,
gotta
and then
be
the
last
Dream
CMC
one with Luna. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one.
Anyways, we'll see you guys next week for the Sister Hoof Social. Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm calling it.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining for another Spoilercast. And we hope to see you guys again next week for Cutie Art Crusaders episode and for another Spoilercast for the CMC episode. Maybe. We'll see. Who knows? But yeah, that is everything. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Flutterguy317.
I'm Ron Boo.
Blurned.
We'll see you.
Next week. Darn it!
Next
I was trying to catch you up, but then you stopped talking.
Raise your horses.
What? Bye.
Bye.